Uh, hello, hello. Yep. It's time to bring the proper introduction. Uh, I have a ton of notes, obviously, and you know, as God been revealing to me how my autonomic nervous system responds to certain movements, sounds, and things like that. Oh, you want to talk about it, you're getting to know that inner child, and we realized that the enemy had to get that sucker traumatized first to keep people living in fear. And so when he revealed to me that, yeah, that when I went through the last detox season, that, it did heal. So now we know that it can be re traumatized. But this time, because I can bring it to y'all from real world, not just biology, through my trauma training. Okay, remember I learned about the ANS, that's the autonomic nervous system. I learned about it during my trauma training with the Arizona Trauma Institute. But we were only taught bits and pieces as to how the ANS is your it basically is your trauma response station, if you will, of the body. And it is not protected by bones and muscles and other things. Your central nervous system is protected by all that. Okay? So the enemy can only target the external, which is your ANS. Even though it's internal, but it's out. You get what I'm saying, okay? It's on the outside, the peripherals, if you will. Okay? And so it contains both the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. I'm not going to go into detail. I've done that elsewhere, but we're going to cover that in a lot more detail, okay, later on. This is just a basic introduction for those who are interested in learning about how the autonomic nervous system can be easily manipulated. Okay, yeah, trauma and stress. Trauma and stress, middle name at the moment. Okay, excuse me. I get it. I get it. But I want y'all to understand something. That a big part of that game of narcissism to dish out all that traumatization to keep people living in fear, and then also, right, living in fear, and that way they're easier to control and manipulate, right? So what we want to think about here is all of the things that go into healing from trauma. You got to have the education. You got to have this awareness, right? This is all part of the heightened awareness. Because when I detoxed the last time and my ANS healed, that's another reason why the enemy sent that Jezebel across my path to physically assault me, because the enemy knew that the ANS could be re-traumatized. However, the spiritual me, no. Because this is why God had us get reconnected in mind, body, and spirit. Never forget what that means. That is emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically. That's mind, body, and spirit reconnect. It's not physical. The enemy thinks it is, but it's not. Okay, so let me get these formalities out of the way, and we're going to dive more into the ANS responses. And you may have heard some of these before here and there, but God said it's time to bring all of it and give you all a proper introduction to how the ANS and the amygdalae, remember, amygdala, right? There's one on the left and right. They are small, little, I know about that hand, y'all, seriously, don't be believing all. I just need to show you all. They're small, little circles, okay? Yeah, I ain't part of none of that. Remember, a lot of those actors are paid to pose like that, all right, you all? That organization is nowhere near as big as it wants you to think it is. Remember, world stage. All right, so two, like kind of like oval shapes is what they are. All right, at the base of the skull, which explains why the Jezebel chose the right side to take that stemless wine glass and, yep, put a nice little gash there that requires staples right at that. Oh, come on now. More about that's on the Patreon channel. We know exactly what she did. Because remember, the very first forensic analysis I got to conduct was on my own body. I never would have thought. But this has led to one eye-opening self-discovery journey. Getting to know that inner child, the ANS. Because that's exactly what it is. And so, when you're amygdalae, okay, you have an amygdala here and here, okay? So, on the left and the right. And they're at the base of the skull. So, I can imagine why, well, I know now why that got pretty much, that area got bruised a good bit. And then, of course, because she, right. Yeah, I've had the stitches. Oh, y'all, the staples fell out a long time ago. Yeah. So, anyhow, with that being said, we just continue to detox, and God's revealing more to me because having all of that, put in place, well, what she did first was tighten exactly to prevent circulation or to cut off circulation somewhat. Okay, and so that being said, needed to numb my autonomic nervous system, which is what happened. I didn't know that at the very beginning. It was only about a few months into the healing process, and then at about the 5th month, I said, hold up a second. We got to complete dietary reset, right? Yeah. And we got on the detox journey, back on the blood type diet. Oh, major changes. That, when more revealed about this autonomic nervous system started to become more noticeable, getting that heightened awareness. All right, I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker podcast, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency for healthier living. So welcome to all of you who join us on this journey. Because when you understand how your ANS is easily manipulated, and it starts with that radio frequency. So I'm going to start at the beginning where it all started. Okay, as far as me becoming more aware, because so this will be a little bit of a story time again, also, because I got to bring you all the real world revelation that God was revealing to me, because I, still being reconnected in mind, body, and spirit, fine, we've got that balance between the spiritual and the physical for proper discernment. So as I am continuing to work and get up here and serve God's Spirit, all that we do is for the glory of God. So it started when I was standing at the kitchen sink, simply washing up some dishes. Now, because your autonomic nervous system, it operates somewhat like a program that runs in the background. Yes, the autonomic nervous system operates subconsciously. It's automatic. That's from the trauma training as well, is that we were taught that we don't have to tell it how to respond to a real threat. We don't have to tell it what to do. That's true. But we do when it starts to act stupid where there is no threat. Oh yeah, we got to talk to it. That's that inner child say, what are you doing? And I'm going to tell you, here's the cool part, is that when if it starts to try to act up when I'm putting my makeup on, I go, what are you doing? And it immediately, I relax. It's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, we're just putting makeup on. Chill out. And so then there's other times where I understand more of why it will perceive a certain thing as a threat because it once was. And so I have to tell it everything's okay. You have to coddle it. I mean, you have to kind of treat it like a child because that's what it is, your inner child. And get it out of the past and get it into the present. All right, so I'm standing at the kitchen sink. This is when God revealed to me about the LED light because my body's trying to get rid of the excess heat. And I was like, why does that feel like it's cooking? He said, shut that off. Because while that was cooking, this was, the autonomic nervous system, my upper tailbone was trying to tense up. And I said, okay, hold up. Because my ANS waking up, so it's not numb anymore, so I can feel these things as the excess heat and excess salt exit the body. And we're no longer electrocuting ourselves with battery-operated grooming tool. Oh yeah, we got rid of those as soon as we discovered that. But I remember standing there and God said, shut the light off. Okay, so I shut the light off. And he says, stand back for a minute. Okay, just hang tight, let it cool off in that area. Okay, so I don't know, 5 minutes or so. Right, and so he says, all right, go back to washing dishes. All right, so I'm washing the dishes. See, that's an activity that my ANS remembers me doing in the previous environment that was a threat because the radio frequency was higher than it should be. Okay? So the ANS only knows how to respond to that. But see, the Jezebel, what she did with that physical assault was basically caused a brief disconnect between my amygdalae and my autonomic nervous system. So, right. Oh, it's been reconnected since. We're good now. It doesn't misinterpret anything anymore. Because I make sure of that. But anyway, I'm back over there washing dishes, and I noticed it was trying to tense back up a little bit. And I said, okay. It was trying to, but I was like, no. Because, okay, I had to have a talk with my ANS. And I said, I understand this activity because that's what it remembers when I would wash up a few of my breakfast dishes or what have you, my teacup, right, in the sink. So what I did to break that negative association was I said, okay, our autonomic nervous system, here's your first and most important thing to understand, is that the autonomic nervous system is dependent on our 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. Okay? It is dependent on those. So, we're going to get to the hallucination part because that does happen as well because of all the salt molecules that are in the air and around us, the dust and all of that. And I'm going to talk about how those little, if you come across like little hardened black specks, that's not insect larvae or larvae, however you say it. No, Those are, if any of you have gone down the rabbit hole and you saw the graphite, okay, and you saw how it was, the magnet was moving it around in the baggie or whatever the container was, okay, and the graphite was following the magnet, right? Well, the graphite, yeah, those are salts. So because we now know that it's salt, the sodium that's on the inside of our body, act as the conduit, or rather magnet, for radio frequency. That's what heats the body up on the inside, is the radio frequency. And so that excess salt is a magnet for radio frequency. Okay? So the autonomic nervous system, yeah, over time, that constant radio frequency manipulation, yeah, it does. It'll cause the numbness of the autonomic nervous system. Now, see, before that physical assault, okay, my ANS was not numb, and the enemy could tell that because we were not tense. We're not living in fear. You can see from, y'all who have been with us for a while, you can see that I am not tense. At times, the muscles may give off that appearance, but we're not tense because we have no reason to be. But the ANS is causing a bit of muscle tension because it is reliving what it remembers, how our body moved in the previous environment, activities that we did. And so back to, how did I break that negative association? Well, I had to talk to it. I said, look at that faucet. That's not the same faucet. I said, look at this sink. This is a single sink. I said, autonomic nervous system, listen up. All right. I said, the sink from the other environment, it had two. It had two sinks, with one, the left side, having a strainer in it. Dish drainer in it. This one does not have that in. Now, I did find a small space living dish strainer, but it has things to go on top. I attempted to put it down on the inside, but I said, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea because, right, not because of ANS or anything, but if I have that down in the sink, and then I'm putting additional dirty dishes, we don't want to do that. All right, so anyhow, but it has a thing that helped the strainer go on top. So it's very different. But I had that talk, and I said, I want you to take a look around this apartment. I want you to remember that none of what you see in this apartment, other than the devices, were in the other environment. Everything that's in here, and the printer, okay? My iPad, printer, guitar, okay? And then some of the books, okay, with the exception of those things. I'm talking about furniture. I said, look at that chair. That wasn't in the other environment. Look at this desk. That wasn't in the other environment. Look at those two tables. Those weren't in the other environment. So I had that long talk. And sometimes we have to have that talk with our ANS. I'm talking about once we become aware and that we are no longer in a threatening environment. Okay, well, if you are still in what the ANS perceives as a threatening environment, this is different. You're going to have to get out of that. God will remove you from that at his appointed time by bringing you all how the autonomic nervous system operates in the background. And we never knew. We're finding out now because that is our threat detector. And so when it perceives something as a threat, it's going to relive the trauma associated with it. And it's on autopilot. So we have to get it off of autopilot. Okay, we've got to get that ANS off of autopilot. And it's totally possible because we're doing it every single day, one step at a time. So after having a nice long talk with it and telling it, hey, there's nothing in this environment that is a threat. Nothing. in this environment that is a threat. But it has to adapt, right? The ANS has to adapt now. And that's where we're at. So as it continues to adapt, right, I'm babysitting that thing. It doesn't bother me. But I know that the ANS tends to want to respond to it. Because that's how I learned where it was affecting me with the ANS. Okay, because our autonomic nervous system, it runs all through our muscles, right? Yeah. So it was when I was laying in bed. Some of y'all know this story, but there's some who don't, right? And some of y'all may need a refresher because it goes into the introduction to how God revealed this to me. I was laying in bed, waking up one morning, and I was laying on my side, right? And I've been told I got spider legs when I sleep because I have long legs. So what? Right? So I got one leg out, right? We're stretching out. We're waking up. We're coming to, and I'm like, all right. That went off. Just one beat. And I felt that slight tug right here on the right side at the tailbone area. I said, aha, there you are. I said, okay. And I was like, glory be to God. So I get up, and I thank God for another day, put my feet on in my sandals. I gotta go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay, hold up. Yeah. So I said, all right, now that's the response to the high frequency. And I said, okay, we see where it's at now. We see what's going on, because that's when God revealed to me that is what the high frequency is used for. Remember the sirens that I've shared with y'all, the high pitch and then the low pitch? Okay, over time, a constant, right, because that pulling up at the tailbone sends, right, it's the ANS perceiving something as a threat, which I don't perceive that as a threat because I'm used to those things being stupid. And we now know that they're programmed to do that. So, yeah, because in the previous environment, those Jezebels used to set that thing off. Yeah, especially when I was in the kitchen. Not a coincidence. Right, trying to re-traumatize my ANS with the smoke detector. Well, it didn't work in that environment. No. That's why the other Jezebel had to try and had to the other Jezebel needed to disconnect the communication line between the amygdalae and my ANS in order for that to get re-traumatized. Okay? Now, so that it would perceive anything associated with frequencies outside of range as a threat. Whereas I don't, because I can sense when it's out of range. So that being said, the next thing that God revealed to me was with the low vibration, the low frequencies. And because those tend to be relaxing, all right? Yeah, those tend to be relaxing frequencies, right? I mean, I know for me it is, because let me share with you all just today. When I did my fruit smoothie, I have a little mini bullet. And so when I turn that thing on, that's a low vibration, low frequency. I felt everything go. I said, okay. So what is going on here is at the same time, the low frequencies now, if it's used in conjunction, the low frequency by itself is relaxing. Now, if it's used in conjunction with the high, like the siren, Right? Okay, same thing as a push-pull from the narcissist, right? That push-pull on our emotion. Well, the enemy is using radio frequency to push-pull at our autonomic nervous system because the tense or relax. Tense or relax. But when used pretty much simultaneously, if you will, all right, when done like that, exactly, the ANS doesn't know what to do, and so the lower frequency is going to do what? It's going to close up them butt cheeks. It's going to tense those butt cheeks up. Why? Because where's the area of the body that eliminates toxins and things that don't belong in the body, right? Yeah. So the enemy has to keep that area, your digestive system, your upper body, all of that, as tense as possible to hinder proper circulation. And that keeps the ANS traumatized. A lot of people don't know that. They don't even know that their ANS is numbed. So I'm going to take a break and catch y'all's comments here. Okay, and question. Yeah, there you go. Right, hey, trauma and stuff. Right, and that's fine. That's fine. Yes, we are positive and optimistic. That's what it's all about because, well, we got to be. Because it's too easy to find negativity, right? And be pessimistic. Because we know these narcissists, they're negative and very pessimistic. Devil trying to spoil. The devil's always trying to spoil our positive vibe. But we learn not to let him. Remember, we got the power and authority on the inside of us from that Heavenly Father to resist the devil and he shall flee. Rebuke that in the name of Jesus. He's going to have to go. Right, salt as the magnet electrical conductor. That's another great way to put it. That's exactly what it is. So even if a person is unconscious, the ANS can still be triggered. Absolutely. Even if the person is, think about somebody on life support. Yeah. Or unconscious and they're on those machines. That ANS is still responding. Absolutely. Because it runs on autopilot. So great point. Thank you for sharing. That absolutely correct. Any particular exercises? Yes, we're going to cover some of those. Chris, hang tight. All y'all, hang tight. We're going to cover some other exercises. And I know it will be like, really? Yeah, to help relax the autonomic nervous system, aside from diaper rash ointment. It don't take much. I'm telling you. It does not take much. But apart from talking to it, yes. And the reason I say talking to it is because the ANS does know our voice. It doesn't know it's the Holy Spirit talking, but it knows our voice. And because it's the Holy Spirit, the ANS will start to relax as we talk to it because we're giving it some attention and we're basically showing it some love, really, and discipline when we have to. Okay, noises in the early hours that prevent you from getting enough sleep. It's unfortunate, but that's a narcissist for you. Love to disrupt our sleep. Oh my goodness. There's got to be some way to remedy that. There has to be some way to remedy that somehow. There's got to be. There's always a solution. And I know we talked about earplugs before, but yeah, there's got to be a solution to that. So let me wet my whistle, and we're going to keep on keeping on. One more cold. Right. I don't have to have ice in there. I figured something out. I took this and I filled it up with cold water. I keep bottled water in the fridge. I filled up with cold water and I put it in the fridge for a good bit today. And so I'm learning that would be a good way, because not the ice in there was not bothering me noise-wise or anything. But I only have a small space. I only have 2 ice trays. And I need ice for my superfood juice when I go for a walk. So I said, we got to balance something out here, because that's going to be an awful lot of gallons of water to go through to keep that ice. So we're figuring, always finding a solution, getting around that resistance. But the autonomic nervous system, the ANS, it continues to operate in autopilot. And so we have to get it out of that mode. Once we do that, we're able to reconnect it with the amygdala. We are able to reestablish the proper communication between those two, because your amygdala is where your fight, flight, or free responses are. So basically, what God revealed to me is that our ANS is the threat detector, and our amygdalae, both of them on each side at the base of the skull, are the threat interpreters as to whether or not we need to fight, flight, or free. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Listen, I know I haven't heard anyone else teach this way, but this is what God revealed to me, because they have together, because your amygdala, right, with years and years and years of traumatization, it can get larger. And so that contributes to living in fear. So when we're able to relax and that get back, it get back to its normal size, so we're not living in fear. Okay? But we have to reestablish the communication between the two, because there was a season, right? Yeah, there was a season when God revealed this to me. He said, yeah, I know. That's why I'm able to, if I feel the ANS trying to act up while putting makeup on, I'm able to say, knock it off. Because the amygdala tells it, no, not a threat. Yeah, so it's like I'm telling it, knock it off, while the amygdala is like, not a threat. She's just putting makeup on. And so that's why every now and again I will experience a little bit of what I call tug of war back there at the muscles. Okay, that's what I'm talking about, y'all, the muscles. I can feel it. See, after our ANS awakened from the numbness, because that means circulation, okay? Right, because the enemy needs to hinder proper circulation in order for the ANS to stay in somewhat of a slumber. The main reason for that, you all, is so that people will be more accident prone. That's like the number one reason. But then also to keep them living in fear, keep them traumatized, and keep them dependent on man. That's right, and keep them unaware. Okay? Always at least 3 things behind why the devil does what he does. And so by doing that covers that one. Okay, we're going to go more in detail about all of that also later on. Because yes, we've got projects in the making with them. That's why I'm coming. God told me to get on here and give y'all this introduction. Okay, because this is going to accompany the project, where we're going to bring you a whole lot more than that. I'm just giving you a little story time. I'm giving you how God has revealed to me that the ANS works in tandem with the amygdala, and how their communication channel get disconnected with, listen, it's unfortunate that it took a physical assault that would have to do that. But I was still aware. That's the thing I want y'all to understand. When God awakened that subconscious, you ain't going back to sleep. And so he said the only thing different from the last detox to this one is that physical assault. But now we're becoming aware. That's why I consider that a blessing in disguise, because, again, it was minor, very acute, bruises heal, right? Yeah. So that's that. And, again, right, these Jezebel and the narcissist, when they pull stuff like that, they're not going to leave physical evidence because they know that that's what the courts want. But just stay tuned, y'all, because you're going to hear. I have a ton of Jezebel case study to share with you all. And so stay tuned, because we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Oh, yeah, you wait. And I already know that God takes care of them on my behalf. I don't have to do nothing. Same thing with y'all. Remember, vengeance belongs to the Lord. Okay? So we leave it in his hand. And we just keep on going. So I'm like, all right, God, what's next? Okay? Quick recap, how the higher frequency causes the pulling up of that tailbone, the tension, which in turn tenses up that back and upper body. And so as the upper body gets tense, it cuts off proper circulation. We also have crisscross circulation. I'm going to get to that next. That was such an amazing discovery that God revealed to me, because I thought it was kind of really interesting how when on the right side, when it would kind of tug upward, and then my left knee would go ping, I was like, that's interesting. Crisscross. Oh, okay. Yeah, so circulation. Okay, anyhow, so as the circulation gets hindered, tension starts to rise, right? Because it's causing the numbing of the ANS. That's what does it. So that over time, again, they become more accident prone, especially with the ism mindset, that high-mindedness, and the lack of awareness that their autonomic nervous system is basically numbed. They don't know. We didn't know that either until God awakened us, and then go through this third detox, which is fantastic, by the way. And when God revealed that to me, I said, okay, so high frequency tense up the tailbone area, the muscles. It tugged. You can literally feel it because there was salt metal molecules there. Remember, they're magnets. So it's like the higher frequency, it makes sense to go upward, right? Higher, upward. Okay, gotta tug it upward. Right? That's basically the opposite of push-pull, if you think about it. It's like pull, and then the lower frequency does the push for relaxing. When done separately, but when they use the high and the low frequencies together, because I discovered that on my walk, while the siren, that was one of the first reveals as far as that goes, because I was paying attention to what was being electrocuted, if you will, or activated from within my body. That's what I was using it for. I was like, okay, come on, siren, come on by. I want to see where we at. That's how God takes the negative and turns it into a positive. So I would feel certain areas of the body go through a surge. That lets me know where I need to be ice packing a little more to get those metal out of that area. There's the tip for you all right there. Once you understand how the enemy's using the high and low frequency to manipulate the autonomic nervous system to keep it traumatized. Because that's exactly what happened with these narcissists too, right? With the push-pull on our emotion. Constant, right? Yeah. that had us walking on eggshell. Okay, well, that's pretty much what the enemy wants. Because it is the traumatization of the ANS that causes the trauma bond to the world. You become unhealthily attached to people and things when the ANS is traumatized and numbed. So God is reversing all of that. Because proper circulation leads to proper nutrition. Because God revealed to me also that our nutrients that we take in through food, like potassium, calcium, vitamin C, all of those things together, when our body is circulating the way it should be, the nutrients serve as a cushion for our joint, ligament, muscles, bones, and overall normal body function, cognitive functioning, all of that. And so what happened, right, when the circulation is hindered also is you can be more easily bruised. Now, if you find yourself more easily bruising, that means you need to increase your vitamin C and ice pack. Okay, vitamin C and ice pack. So, as our autonomic nervous system wakes back up, you will feel the pins and needles. You know, like how you use the bathroom for a while and your legs will start to go a little numb, then you get up and, okay, that's the sensation that you will feel here and there as your ANS wakes up and your body gets rid of the excess salt and toxins. Right. And so the other tip I have for you all, through the detoxing to help with this, and then you can get that reconnect. Once you're able to start breaking negative association for your ANS, that's when you'll be able to reestablish the communication line to the amygdalae. So there's that. Okay, and once that happens, the amygdalae knows what to do. Absolutely. So it knows automatically. God designed our bodies so strategically that the amygdalae know what to do. Both of them. As soon as that communication line is reestablished, it's on the job. It knows. Okay? So that right there, we're going to get to those exercises. I've not forgotten. Okay? Because it really is all about moving and staying moving. Okay? Very, very important. And right, and to make sure you're walking properly. Okay? Make sure you're walking. Don't be waddling. I found that out too. Yeah, don't waddle. That's not gonna, that's just gonna prolong the hinders circulation, if you will. Okay, don't be waddling. That's what God showed me. It's Auntie Julie said, walk like a grown-up. Okay? I don't care if those thighs rub. It's only temporary. Walk normal. Don't be waddling. Okay? Yeah, all of this is temporary. And the enemy knows it because the more our body gets rid of the excess heat, the more of the excess salts we eliminate, right, step by step, the ANS is going to continue to wake up and full circulation is going to take place. And then bruises will heal faster. Yep. Think about it. I mean, hindered circulation, what do the bruisers need? Nutrition for healing. It needs the vitamin C you got to take. It needs all the other important things as well. Because I'm going to tell y'all, the older bruisers, they're going away. Because now, if I got a bag out of my trunk and I hung it on my forearm here. And it caused a slight bruise. Very, very light. And it was gone within 24 hours because I'm taking the vitamin C. That's what I'm saying, is that, right, exactly. The only reason it bruised was because circulation's a little bit hindered. At that time, that's the only reason that it bruised. But within 24 hours, it was gone because I've been taking the vitamin C. So that's why I know the bruises that I'm getting from what happened, they've been there this whole time. They're just now finally coming to the surface, breaking apart. I can feel it. I can feel it. Minerals, that's right. Thank you. Yep. That's the point. A numbed ANS will lead to a lack of focus. Absolutely. It is very difficult to focus when your body's internal heat is so high, your ANS is numbed, you feel all over the place, a sense of constant delirium. Yep. Not knowing which way is up or down, left or right. Can't have clear thinking. Won't be able to self-think. More likely to buy out impulse. I mean, there's all kinds of behavioral things that result from a continued numbed ANS. And all of it benefits the matrix. All right, now let's cover some of those additional exercises, shall we? Okay. Aside from talking to it, the ANS, to help it relax, you can always use a little bit of diaper rash ointment. It does not take much, okay? If you are not recovering from a physical assault, you won't need much at all in certain areas. But I would recommend, if you're going to use that, okay, I would recommend the upper tailbone area. Like, let's see, like right, the lower back tailbone. I would recommend putting it there a little bit, just a little bit. It might take about a half hour or so, and you'll feel the relaxing muscle. Okay, you will feel the relaxation. Okay, so that's just another little tip. And as you're rubbing that in, the exercise along with that is you can massage that area. Anywhere that you can reach that feels a little bit tense, not a deep tissue massage. Do not go for that. Don't go somewhere and get a deep tissue massage. Let me show you all. You can get yourself a very simple massager. I mean, it's not the best of the best of the best, but we're not seeking perfection at Consulting for Heightened Awareness either. But you can get yourself a simple, I got this at Walmart, okay? This actually is for the glute area, and then this along the back, stuff like that. Oh, that's nice. All right, so something like this. Another exercise you can do, you get yourself a self-massager. If you've got a back scratcher, you can use that as a massager. And then, of course, your own two hands, depending on where it is. So, like, for the upper thigh area, okay, if it's tense, just lightly with your thumb, massage that. Yeah, you can massage that. And then, light stretches like Chris also in the academy form. Light stretching. Oh, it's very, very important. Make sure you breathe. Right? Make sure you get that oxygen to the muscle. And there's another exercise, deep breathing exercises. Because you can feel the circulation going on when you do that. That means that oxygen is right. Okay? And then basically movements. Like this. Right? Movement. Just simple little movement. And then I will sit down in my calves. Yeah, I sit down and show those calves a little bit of love. Show the upper above the knees. There's a muscle above the knee that can also be tapped. Just show it a little bit of love. You take your hand and every now and again. And so over time, that'll help the muscle loosen just enough to where you can help your body promote proper circulation. Okay? And then, of course, let's see, magnesium supplements will help the muscles relax. And depending on your circumstance, as far as how many milligrams of the magnesium supplement, now I've got a magnesium oxide. There are several other types of magnesium supplements available. So really, it has been suggested that magnesium citrate / oxide together, it's been suggested that you might want to take a magnesium complex. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Okay, you can do your research, but I chose that one because the oxide, this body needs that oxide. Diaper rash ointment is zinc oxide. Oxygen helps the muscle relax. I know oxide is not, okay, I know that that's not oxygen itself, but it helps with the muscle getting the oxygen to relax. Okay? And that's coming from experience as well. Just remember that. I mean, there's a lot of things, but really, those simple exercises to help relax really is just about, staying in motion a little at a time. Because one thing we also know about salt is that it is a stiffener. And so if you stand in one spot too long and you start to feel yourself going a little bit stiff, right, remember, move slow. Watch how you move. Right? Oh, yeah. Watch how we move. And then, of course, you see me I'm doing some knee movements, right? I'm doing some knee stuff. So that, exactly, because I've been standing up here for almost an hour now. And so we're not complaining, but we know what our body needs. And because I do all of that as far as the simple massages and things like that. And so now if you feel, right, if you hear a snap, blah, 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 that's an air pocket loosening. Also, remember, air pocket get into our joints as well. Yes. And so a sensation like that. Oh, when I did this earlier, I felt the air pockets right along in there. And I was like, yeah, work them way. Yeah, work their way out. Work them way out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, either way. So, and so whenever I did, I felt it loose too. So I was like, aha. And that's how God revealed it to me, air pocket. But just the sensation of that would scare one of the narcissists and trick them into thinking that something's wrong there. No, that's just the air pocket loosening. Now, mind you, y'all, discernment, again, you know what's going on with your body. Okay, so if you do something a little more severe and you need to go, I'm not telling y'all, I'm not telling y'all not to if you need to. If you need to go get some intervention, go get some intervention. But most everything during this process, as the ANS is waking up while we're detoxing, everything should be very minor. So once the air pocket loosens, right, then the ache or the ping that you might feel as the ANS continues to awaken, it's going to be very dull. So, for example, there's a couple of areas where air pockets have loose. Well, there's a lot of areas, but I've got two in particular where there's still a little bit of an occasional ping here and there, but it's very, very dull and very minor, very brief and very dull. So that lets me know that, okay, a little more ice packing to break that, get that metal toxin out of there so we can get rid of that. So there you go. It's really an amazing thing when we learn about our autonomic nervous system and how it responds to trauma. Yeah, it's, I know it's deep, isn't it? But it is like getting to know a whole nother person. Yeah, breathing with the movement. Absolutely. Very important when you are engaging in some low impact exercises to help relax those muscles. And I will share something with you all. Don't freak out about this. If you're going to use the diaper rash ointment, all right, if you're going to use a little bit of that, okay, don't freak out if you see that, because our body has hairs. Well, if you see the hairs coming off because you're using the ointment in that area, don't freak out. When you're done using it, a hair's going to grow back. Okay? Don't freak out. Don't freak out. But it will help, because I will tell you that area, right, that lower back, yep, right there around the tailbone, hit the hardest with that high frequency. So that's why I'm suggesting that area if you're going to use that. Right, that's why I suggest to test out the level of tension by using it there first. Again, it just takes a very little bit. Yep. And to wash it off your hands, what I have found that works the best is Dawn dish detergent. But regular soap and water can work too, but because I have to put it on more areas than just that. But Dawn dish detergent. And then also still stay mindful about how you're moving and stuff, because that's going to relax. So don't get tricked into thinking, okay, we're good, and take off running. Don't do that. You've got ointment on there that is helping to relax that muscle. But yeah, you ain't nowhere near. Don't let that trick you. Because yeah, you're going to feel better pretty much instantly. But just stay mindful, okay? Because you don't want to trip yourself up into thinking that you're all cured. No, that's just part of the exercise, because you get to massage that area also. And then, again, I would say if you can bear it, cold showers. Yeah. Wonderful. Because it helps to relax. Not the hot shower. When you've got that excess salt on the inside of your body, I found out real quick. Those real hot showers, you don't want those. Ooh. So I figured out how to take cooler showers. Colder. If you can stand it. Because I found out that ice packing actually helps to relax the muscles as well. Because the internal heat is pretty daggone high. And so that's that. All right, there is your introduction to the autonomic nervous system and how it responds to the trauma and how it is supposed to work in conjunction with the amygdalae. Whereas the ANS detects a threat, the amygdalae is responsible for interpreting that, so we know whether or not are we going to freeze, fight, or flight. Okay? Exactly. It is the interpreter. But They both respond to trauma, but something got to interpret that threat, right? So now when my ANS does, because we're breaking negative association, okay, remember, you have that to break negative association, you're just going to have to talk to that thing. You just have to talk to the ANS. You know, I mean, you can even say, I can even go, all right, Michelle, listen up. But I often just say, autonomic nervous system, listen up. All right, because it's an inner child. And so it is another process within the process. And once you can tell that if you're moving a certain way and you feel a tug, think about, okay, what is it associating that movement with, right? What is it, or if you feel it on the left side, because, right, if you're moving a certain way and you feel a tug, take a moment to think about, okay, wait a minute. What is that thing associating that movement with? Okay, so, right, perhaps in a previous environment that was threatening, it is associating that movement with a particular activity that you used to do in that environment. That's usually what it is. And, right, that's why it still like to try and play tug of war when I'm putting my makeup on, because, yeah, I put my makeup on in the previous environment, and then in the very last, when I had to close that Jezebel case study, even though that was just one time being there, I added to it because I put my makeup on before finally, I loaded up my car and I'm finally getting out of there. And so I put some makeup on. And so my ANS knows, it remembers that. The ANS operates based on last known memory. There's your reminder about that. It's going to respond based on the last known memory that it has of a threat. So real quick, the hallucination comes from excess salt. So I know I alluded to this in the very beginning. We're going to come, full circle. For those who have seen the graphite, okay, inside that bag, and then you take a magnet, and those little black particles, right, it moves with the magnet, right? Okay. Same thing that I've discovered here as to how the enemy does that. Okay, because of the salt that's naturally occurring in the air, and then in the dust. Exactly. And right, it's all around us, right? We've got metal all around us. And so when I'm finding little hardened, I thought it was bug doo-doo, but it's not. Yeah, God revealed to me, because I had a decent sized one on the floor there. And so when I picked it up, I went, oh, I see, because that's the salt molecule. Remember, by itself, salt has a very low atomic mass. So it needs to call some other salt molecules to start becoming a larger particle. And because salt is the magnet for radio frequency, if we are radiating enough because we have excess salt, right? See, that didn't activate because I'm not radiating enough radio frequency to activate that. It's going to take a while for some of y'all to let sink in, because we realize that over half our lives, well, most of our lives, all our lives, over half of the things we thought we saw, listen, what we saw the narcissist do, we saw. What we heard the narcissist say, we heard. Okay, this is not a gaslight. I'm talking about other things. Let me share with you all an example. God brought it back to my remembrance. Because as a kid, it bothered me. Of course it would, as a kid. Well, the house that we lived in, I was born in California, okay? And so while we were there, and this is before we moved to the Carolinas, okay? We moved to North Carolina when I was 8. So it was before then, but after age 5, okay? So it's somewhere in there, between and 8. and I saw there was a van, like one of those hippie vans, because our house was within the cul-de-sac of the neighborhood. Okay, so our house was sitting in the cul-de-sac, right? And so there's the cul-de-sac. And then our driveway, I believe, was over here or over here. It don't matter, but in between, right out front, there was a hippie van parked. And it had a open sunroof. And I saw two legs with a pair of shoes as if somebody was standing on their head. And I thought, that's really strange. Well, God revealed to me that was a hallucination. That wasn't even real. There was no feet and leg sticking out that sunroof. I said, oh my gosh. Okay. No wonder as a kid that bothered me. I mean, of course it would. I was like, well, that's really weird. Okay, so anyhow. Oh, right. That's because of the salt that's all around us. And then we've got that salt inside our body, even as kids. But anyhow, that hardened black particle that I picked up, probably about the size of about the size of a grain of rice. Okay, if you look at the size of a grain of white rice, it's pretty small, but still big enough that if I had been radiating enough frequency to activate that, it would have been a hallucination, and the ANS would have seen. Remember, it relies on our 5 senses. The last known thing that it saw. So God told me that over half of those little crawlers that I saw during a particular season in here, over half of them were hallucinations. I said, oh, that makes sense, because at that time I was still, we had just started detoxing, and so we were still a bit hot on the inside. We were still radiating a good bit. But since come down, that is happening less and less and less. And God reminded me, he said, yeah. He said, because those little salt, I mean, it's a magnet for radio frequency. And so it needs activation. And it needs the radio frequency to activate it. I know. Let that sink in. But I was like, okay. So over half of what went down during the beginning, while my head was still a little funky, but the ANS is going to, because the last thing that it saw, the last thing it saw and interpreted as a threat is what that's going to turn into. Yeah, it's really interesting. And you can learn more about how God revealed that to me with one of my sweaty stocks on the Patreon channel. Again, that link is listed below for quicker access. Yep, and you will find a lot more value for as little as $5 a month. Remember, all proceeds go right back into the community. Okay? And so for those who would like to also service, you would like to send a service pledge, you can do so at the PayPal link in the description below as well. So we highly appreciate all of you who have done so, and all of you who will. It really is to bring all this content to you, here and at the Academy and other places. And so, we're just going to keep bringing you the God's spiritual truth and truth, because, right. So, salt. Salt is why you can use fruit and veggies as an electrical conductor. There you go. You are welcome. See, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't take much. If you're already working out those tight muscles, like the upper thighs and the back and you're doing the gentle massages, you will start to feel the relaxation, and that improves circulation. So I'm coming over here. Right, and making sure you breathe like a potato clock. Exactly. Yep, that makes all the sense in the world right there. It is amazing, all of the things that stem from salt. So as we continue to detox and get to know that ANS better, right, building that relationship, yeah, not only with the Godhead, but with ourselves, because that ANS, boy, I tell you, it is, definitely has a mind of its own. But we learn to take that away from it, because we know that our thoughts, there's your final thing with it, is that we learn our thought, control that thing. What we're thinking of controls that ANS. The enemy knows that. And why else do you think he wants to get in there and try and control our thought, keep us thinking negatively? Because the ANS is going to be controlled by that kind of thinking as well. Oh, the ANS can tell the difference between negative and positive. Oh, yeah. That's why when I'm sitting in the car, when I put my mentor in spirit, I put videos on, and her voice, my ANS automatically relaxed. So there you go. Because it recognizes the Holy Spirit speaking, and also it doesn't know that's the Holy Spirit speaking, but I do. It's spirit to spirit. But the ANS recognized being in the car, listening to her as a positive thing. So there's another tip for you all as to shifting the negative to positives for the ANS. So if you engage in more things that you enjoy doing, your ANS is going to respond positively. It's going to relax even more. So there's another exercise right there for you to think about, doing things that you enjoy. And I know for me now, while I'm cooking, it's finally broke the negative association with cooking in the previous environment. Now, how did I do that? Okay. All right. Talking to it, yes. But also by reminding it, again, this is not the same kitchen. So, for example, as I'm over there at the stove, and by the way, it is ponytail season, y'all. God told me to go ahead and give it a good trim while it's in the ponytail. We'll see what that looks like later. All right, well, I'm over there at the stove. I see where that stove is located. Okay, it's not even on the same side of the kitchen. It's a much smaller kitchen, obviously. But I told the ANS, I said, look, the stove here is over there. It's on the left side of this apartment. Where in the previous environment, depending on the way you were standing, but it's in conjunction to the sink. Okay? The sink being pretty much in a that's the other thing it was associated, because the sink is located pretty much in a very similar spot in this kitchen as it was in the previous environment kitchen. Okay? So basically that was another thing. However, right, and the dishwasher is in the same spot, relatively right next to the sink. So that was a little tricky as well. As I'm taking dishes out of the dishwasher, I would feel it trying to tug, and so I had to have a talk with it. And I said, yeah, but here's the difference. I said, autonomic nervous system, the stove's over there. The previous environment, the stove was over here. If you're standing facing the sink, the stove was on the right. And it was a 4-burner. This is a 2-burner stove, and it's on the left. Oh, okay. That's how I want you to get that. Now for the dishwasher, right? The dishes that I'm putting up, also very different location. I said, although the dishwasher might be in the similar spot as the previous kitchen, the dishes, the plates and everything go in the cupboard right above. Okay? Whereas the pot and the pan In the other, you would take the pots and pans out of the dishwasher, and there was an island in the other environment. I had to talk to the autonomic nervous system just like that, and say that other environment, it's not set up quite the same. It had an island where the pots and pans went in that cupboard over there. I literally take the pots and pans, walk on over, and put them in the island. Whereas here, the pots and pans go right under the stove in that cupboard. Stuff like that. Okay, seriously, I know it sounds nuts, but it works. See, these are tried and true techniques, y'all. It's what I've had to do, and it works. Because you have to get your ANS out of the old environment, basically, or wherever it thinks it's at, perceiving things as a threat when there is no threat. So I wanted to give you all this because it's part of trauma healing, especially in the physical. Well, I mean, it is in the physical. So there's that. Let's see if I can think of anything else to give you all as far as tips stuff, because this whole introduction basically bringing these tidbits, because I have mentioned all of these things here and there throughout some live stream. That's why God said, I want you to bring it all back into one introductory video together, because this is the introduction to what's coming, all right? And it really is, it is another process, and it's not for the faint at heart, because we have to accept, that we've been lied to since birth. It's no different than having to accept that these narcissists out here lied to us about themselves, about a lot of things, and that these narcissists are pathological liars. After all, the devil is a liar. So it's no different than that. We have to, on the societal level, we have to accept that we've been lied to about a lot of things, and that the salt all around us has been used against us and is the magnet for radio frequency. And when it's too high in the body, constant RF manipulation will numb that ANS. Right. And it's just, yeah. It's what the enemy needs to do to keep people in that cognitive dissonance hypnosis. A constant state of confusion. That's another side effect of a very numbed ANS. Is that heavy cloud of confusion, that brain fog. Yeah, that brain fog that starts to lift once we realize what we're dealing with here. And so, a brief recap, you can always find yourself a little back scratcher, a little massager, okay? And just work those muscles out a little bit at a time. Again, I do not recommend a deep tissue massage. Don't do that, because you're waking up the autonomic nervous system by relaxing it. And so that way you get proper circulation. This is why it's a great idea to get out there, take you a superfood juice with some ice in it, in a tumbler, and go for a leisure walk while you're sipping on that. It ain't going to be a speed walk, just a regular leisure walk. Make sure you're walking right. Don't be waddling. Okay? Yep. God revealed that to me. So stop waddling. Okay? And so that'll help as your circulation is working, right? After you relaxed a little bit, right? And you're like, all right, time to go out there and get, because that will help that superfood, the nutrients, that will help it get into your systemic circulation is what you want it to get to. And that helps. So there's another tip right there to get that nutrition. All right. And it takes time. Okay, it takes time. It takes patience. That's why I say this kind of stuff, this process of detox stuff is not for the faint at heart either, because you got to have some extreme patience and be extremely patient. And so real quick, everybody, stay tuned to the Patreon channel as well. We are building our digital product line. So even if you have not heard an announcement from me, okay, it is a good idea to check that channel every once in a while. Check the shop. You may be surprised that I just haven't gotten around to announcing it yet, but there might be. Okay, so if you don't see anything new, okay, yet, check back, because what we are doing with that digital product line is we are designing and creating menu guides that go along with the combat against radio frequency for healthier living. So I'm bringing you all tried and true technique. I'm bringing you all meals that yeah. Oh, and by the way, for anyone who's interested, you will find a few cooking demo videos on the Patreon channel. You get access to those as well for as little as $5 a month, where I'm right here in the kitchen showing you how I make those superfood soups. That's why we call them CHAs, superfood soups, that can be converted into a juice by adding a little bit more water. If you put some ice in there, shake that sucker up in that tumbler, you're going to take it with you on your walk. Now, remember, you can also, with those superfood soup that you turn into a juice, you can add, if you want to, you can add that scoop of wheatgrass in there, and or a scoop of like rice protein powder. You can always do that, up the ante with that, because protein and fruit help to burn fat. So does green tea extract, because it's got a little bit of that caffeine in it. So that helps us as well. So let's see, what else? Yeah, I mean, we're bringing it. Okay, you all, we're going to continue to bring you all good stuff for that healthier living. Absolutely. So for anybody who is catching this for the first time, yeah, I highly recommend that you subscribe to this channel, because we're going to keep bringing these things, these God's revelation, these truths, all about that trauma healing, for those of you who are serious, that is. Because I'm not bringing you all stuff that I'm not doing. See, we practice in what we preach here. That's what we're supposed to do. That's how we lead by example. But I'm giving you all some guides because I know what it's like. So real quick, yeah, I know exactly what it's like when you find out you need to do a dietary reset for healthier living. And because we are creatures of habit, it's so easy to like be like, oh gosh, where do I start? You know, I mean, yeah, it's like, where do we start? We got to get this salt out of our body. We got to get this excess. Oh my gosh, where do we begin? And so that's where the Patreon digital product line comes in. And if I'm not mistaken, you should, even on the free side of Patreon, you should have access to those. If you don't, let me know. All right. And let's see. Right, because we know what it's like. I was going to say, yeah, because when I first had to go gluten-free, because I started noticing that when I consumed gluten, that, right, it felt like my stomach was, going into a knot. And I said, okay, what is this? So I searched it. And I was like, okay, wow, that's definitely not good. And I learned about the gluten in the wheat. My body was not, it didn't want that. And so I was like, oh boy, what do I do? Well, like like y'all, I mean, I was searching online. I was trying to figure out where am I going to go from here, because now I got to get this out of my diet. I was already lactose free. So I'm like, okay, now I got to go gluten free. And so I went down that. Yeah. Finding gluten-free bread, gluten-free this, it was not easy in the beginning. I'm going to tell you that. It was not. That's why I had to start reading labels. I was like, oh, man. So that's why when I can bring you all these guides and these tips, because I've lived it myself. Oh, and I know what it's like when you find out that, oh, man, we got to, and then I find the blood type diet later on. And let me tell you, that's the best. Eat for your type. That's the best. I don't know how much the app costs now, but at the time I got it, it was like $4, $3.99. I was like, that's the best $4 I ever spent, because that right there has provided me with a much broader, or let's just say more of a variety for my blood type of veggies and fruits and meat, of things that I'm like, oh man, because I was very limited there for a while. I didn't know. I was like, yeah, just like y'all, like, where do we start? I don't even know what to make. Right? It's like, where do you start? So that's where I come in, to provide you all. So that, right, because I went through, oh gosh, I want to say, I'm not sure how long, but it was a good while. It was a pretty long season where I was just like, I was eating pretty much the same 10, maybe 12 items on a regular basis, because I didn't know. I didn't know what else to do. I had to be gluten free, and there's so many things that have gluten in them. There's so many things that have wheat, and that I had eaten my entire life up until I realized I couldn't no more. And I said, okay. So when I found the blood type diet, and then when I found the app, and I said, oh, lifesaver, because that app, that served as my grocery list right there. So I go grocery shopping. Now I know, okay, wait a minute. I know I used to eat the Brussels sprouts, but can I have them now? Since all I got to do is pull up the app and find out that, oh, yes, I can, because that's on my neutral list. Just to give y'all an example. So that helped me a lot. So I'm bringing a lot of that, because I had to start reading labels. Oh, man, it took, listen, y'all, I know, it took some time in the beginning, okay? Yeah, I was probably in the grocery store for, I know, well over an hour when I first started reading labels. So I just want y'all to know, it gets quicker, though, because you become more familiar with what you're looking for. Right? Because if I see anything, right, if I come across a new product that's claiming to be gluten-free, and then I turn it around and I see several ingredients that are on my avoid list for the diet, I put it back on the shelf. With the exception of what God has me get, that He knows my body will recognize, to help serve as a sponge with some gluten-free breads right now, as a sponge to help get the excess salt water out of the body. So God got in our steps here. And so I'm bringing you all the guide, because I've been there. I know what it's like. So I'm going to be giving you all a whole lot more variety, because I have access to a whole lot more variety. And I know that a lot of the guides that you're going to see, for cooking and all of that, it's based on my blood type diet, but you can modify. Okay, these recipes that I'm sharing with you all are not set in stone. Like, for example, on the low sodium menu guide, okay, if you see the a salmon fillet with a couple of vegetables and a side of let's say butternut squash soup, right? Okay, let's say you see that. Okay, but you don't have salmon. You got one of the veggie. You don't have butternut. But you do have you've got another meat and another veggie and another thing you can make soup with. That's fine. You can modify it with something similar. Let's say you have zucchini. You can make zucchini soup or have zucchini as a dish. I mean, I'm just saying, it's or the other veggie. So it's just one example, and I just want y'all to be clear on that. I want to be clear on that with y'all, that those are not necessarily, they serve as a guide. But yeah, a guide. So you work with what you have. I'm not telling y'all. Now, if you want the salmon, if you want that at that meal, but you don't have what you need, then fine, go get it. But if you've got stuff in the house, let's say you did work all day and you just don't feel like going to the store, take a look at what you got. You can modify. And I guarantee you the sodium count is going to be very similar, if not the same. As long as you add salt and no added sugars. See, that's what we're all about with the combat against radio frequency. Okay? It's no added salt and no added sugars. That's it. And also no artificial, no artificial sugars, none of that. No corn syrup, none of that. We cut that out. Those are horrible. It's that salt and excess sugar. What? Yeah. Okay, so there you go. I just wanted to give you all that little thing here to share that we know where you're coming from. So we're going to provide tried and true technique to help you all live the healthier life that we want to live in God's reality. Okay, everybody, that wraps up this episode. Yes, the app is a great idea. Eat Right for Your Type. He has an app. And like I said, it's the best $4 I ever spent. Absolutely. Okay, everybody. So don't hesitate to reach out if you've got any question. Yeah, I know we went for about an hour and a half today. So that's good. That's good. Just wanted to make sure we kind of full on introduction and then some healthier living tips and other information, as so you can get access to all of that with our Patreon digital product line. And then don't forget about the digital products on the website. By the way, thank you, Chris. I saw. Yep. Got video number 6 and 7, Real Talk with God's Wisdom video. Yep. You can download those for on up to 3 devices for one low price. And those two go right along with the combating radio frequency for healthier living as well, because I share some very intriguing findings with that as well. So there you go. All right. All of those videos are that real talk one-on-one, right? Let y'all know you ain't crazy. Nope. You ain't crazy. And then also the PDF version of our books and the magazine. Oh yeah, easy peasy. Right off the website. All day long. Download on up to 3 devices. Don't forget about external hard drive where you can store that stuff. You don't have to keep it in your phone. You can put it on the external hard drive. That's right. Because so you don't eat up your phone's storage. Because on average, most people probably have about 128 gigabytes. So you want to get yourself on the phone, that is. So you want to get yourself you want yourself external or a cloud service even, okay? That helps. All right, everybody. Yes, we're sending love and light. Okay, yeah. Oh, you're gonna like them. You're gonna like what God revealed on those. Oh, something else. All right, everybody. So there you go. You can leave your question in the comments on the replay. I'll get to those as soon as possible, or you can send them via email. All right, we can do that too. All right, so there's your Truth Seeker podcast live and on the replay here. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker podcast on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency poisoning for your living. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Until next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.